Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel here. I'm gonna try something new today. Gonna try a new feature I found on a Chromebook here called a Speaker Cast. Um, and we're gonna talk through kind of my premise of this video. So, kind of what I wanted to do with this video today is just talk through kind of national rankings. You see these big accounts, Flow Wrestling and Matt Scouts, and accounts posting national rankings. And while I'm a fan of the rankings. I think it's cool. I think it's good recognition. I think it's gets fans excited. Recruiting wise, if you get a top 5, top 10 recruit, you're feeling pretty excited, stuff like that. But I think the way the sport is covered is it's kind of top heavy, and let me explain. Is the way it's featured is your top 20 to 30 wrestlers any given year. They're going to go to your blue bloods, your Oklahoma States, your Iowas, your Penn States, your teams like that. And it's really a sharp contrast, in terms of football recruiting in particular, which I follow pretty close as well. And in football recruiting, what's interesting is you have 100 plus Division I programs. You got other levels below that, but I guess to make an analogy, in football, every program is fighting over the top elite level quarterbacks any given year, and for good reason. As those of quarterbacks are so important. They run a lot of what you can do on offense. They distribute the ball, they make plays, and they're really the face of your program. But in wrestling, what's unique is you got your 10. I'm speaking college wrestling. You get your 10 starters, and so you kind of have 10 quarterbacks in a way, because those are the guys. Each time they take the mat, they're the ones with ownership of what happens, and they're the ones in charge. So it kind of places a higher emphasis on each individual. And you look at your top dogs every year, your Penn States, Iowas, Oklahoma State, Missouri, Arizona State. They have pretty decent guys up and down the lineup, 1 through 10, and I think a lot of what the national rankings, your recruiting sites, they tend to focus all the most 90+% of their attention on these bigger programs in terms of like the prospects they get and things like that. And to me, there's a big fallacy in these rankings, because they really play out. But in season, they really tend to focus a lot on geographical areas in which the big tournaments are. And what I mean by that is you have your rankings preseason or whatnot in terms of high school, and early on you go to Ironman, which is in Ohio, and you have a pretty decent results there, and you get a little bit of shake up in terms of the rankings. But then you go to Powerade and Escape the Rock, which are two other big tournaments. They're East Coast, so you get a lot of East Coast competition represented in the rankings. And meanwhile, while that's going on, a lot of guys are kind of, I guess you could say, overlooked, because if you're in certain states that have travel restrictions as far as competition, you're not gonna have the opportunity to hit those competitors and build your resume, so to speak. So that creates a little bit of I guess geographic focus as far as where where you see a lot of these recruits are seemingly located. And while that's good, and it's then again, I mean, it's really driven by these big schools. And but anyway, I wanted to talk through that a little bit, give a little bit of background, and kind of my intent for this channel is I want to cover the guys that you don't see on these big websites, these pay websites. You're paying. I mean, for me personally, I'm paying good amounts of money on yearly subscriptions to get all this information as far as tournaments and profiles and things like that, and that's interesting. And while that's great and all, I mean, what I like to do is I like to scale it back. Like, for example, if Flow or Mad Scouts comes out with their ranking set, what I do is I take the guy that's ranked, the particular guys that are ranked, and then I look back at their previous off-season results. How are they looking prior to the year, and you can find some interesting things. And that brings me to this kid I want to talk about, which I found just astounding. This kid's stats, and it's really huge numbers this year. And so the kid I want to talk to you all today is a kid named Alex Rozas from Teurlings Catholic, Louisiana. He's a freshman, class of 2026. And what's really dang impressive about this guy, he had a 55-0 freshman season, but I want to highlight this here. He outscored his opponents 503-12 on matches that weren't by pin, and so that's that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, people say, oh, it's Louisiana, there's not a, it's definitely not a hotbed of wrestling. But I'll use an analogy of the NFL draft. When there's a hot prospect from the FCS level or D2 or whatever, they always speak in the pre-draft process. This guy, if you're an NFL player, you should dominate that level, and it's no different here. I mean, if you're a high-level wrestler, you should go out and dominate in a area where you're head and shoulders above everyone else. And I mean, that's just what this guy did. And as a freshman, that's remarkable. I was just looking through track wrestling last night, and this kid just had like crazy. I was looking like 10, 15 matches in a row. There was like 16-0, 17-0, 18-1, like just insane. And then there was like a streak of like 8 in a row, like pins within like 15 seconds, 12 seconds, 10 seconds, things like that, which is it's just remarkable, because you gotta like that attitude of a kid that can come out and it's looking to pile up points, being relentless, not just letting your foot off the gas. Sometimes you see kids that are, that you watch, and I've seen it, you just think, man, that guy could have got another takedown or two, or, could have been pushing more for scores and stuff like that. But with this guy, it's not really a problem that he has. But what really caught my attention was this guy has good results in the off season as well, coming into the year. So it's not just like he beat up on a competition that was subpar. And it started out at the Folk Style Nationals / the Recruiting Showcase. He was a 16U 100-pound champion, went 4-0, and then he transitioned into Fargo, where he went 4-2, made the heartbreak round. His only losses were to Lincoln. I don't know how to say the last name exactly. Sledzanowski, I think is how you say it. He's from Bishop McCourt, PA, but he's originally from Florida. But he's a kid at UC that's nationally ranked. He's ranked 16th by Flow right now. And then the other loss was to Carter Pearson, Iowa kid, who was, who got upset in the state tournament this past weekend. But he was ranked, I think he was top 5, if I'm not mistaken. by Flo and Matt Scouts and that. But then he really had a huge Elite Eight duels. Well, not huge, but really had some good wins out there. He competed in the folk style portion of that tournament, and he had two notable wins there: 10-6 over Javon Yarbrough, who's 12th at Flo at 106. And Matt Scouts, he has him as high as number 5. So I mean, this is a kid that has wins over two nationally ranked guys, and that's just the ones I found just looking very briefly. So this guy has good wins, and he's in a spot in the country that you seldom think of as far as wrestling. I mean, I know Daniel Cormier was from Louisiana, and he obviously had great success, in college wrestling and beyond. And there's a couple other kids that came out of there fairly recently, but just a good talent. And then he went into the Super 32 tournament, went 3-2. He lost in the ultimate tiebreaker to Nikos Philippos, who's, I think he goes to Wyoming Seminary. He's a 113 pounder, and he's pretty scrappy. And then the other loss was 2-0 to Nico Finella, who's, I think he's also at 113 for the high school season, and he has like 2 losses in PA, which is pretty good. So if you look at it, this is the flaw in national rankings. So he's in Louisiana, he's just smashing the competition, and his losses here. Philippos is up at 113, so he wouldn't be eligible for the 106 rankings. Finella's up at 113, so he's not eligible for 106. He has a win over Yarbrough, who's ranked 12th and 5th. And he has a win over Sledzinowski, who's 16th. And then his only 2 losses were Sledzinowski, who he split with, and then Carter Pearson, who's a 5th, who's like a top 5 ranked in the country right now. So you got a case that this guy is deserving to be nationally ranked. I mean, that's crazy to me. Is they rank 20 guys, and then you hear him talk on upsets and things like that. Well, guys, just because you have a number next to your name, or you see your name on these websites, or even if you don't, that doesn't determine what you can do in the sport. It doesn't determine your potential in this sport. And that's kind of what I want my channel to be, is just shed some light on guys that I kind of discover throughout this. And if some of these guys go on and have great careers, that's great. But just kind of be a platform for the majority of kids who are not like always talked about. And this is just the first hopefully of many videos like this, where I can explain my thoughts and my observations, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I know this is one that I dove into doing the research on, and I really had a fun time with it. I was just like, wow, that's remarkable. And another thing I wanted to mention is, a lot of those tech falls, that I'm assuming that has to be from having a good top game, having tilts and stuff. And that's even more important in college. With the 4-point near fall, you not only get a takedown, but if you can get even one 4-point near fall, you've blown a match open. And when you're at that level, it's really hard for guys to come back from like a 6-0 or even a 2-point near fall, a 4-0 deficit. I mean, it happens, but it's harder. And with the riding time, you can get a takedown, a 4-point near fall, and a riding time, and you can be up 7-0, and then you're really in control of the match at that point. So, it's just a kid that I think it's like, wow, how can you not be impressed with those numbers? I mean, regardless of what state you're in, I mean, that's just remarkable, that level of production. And I mean, 55-0 as a freshman. If you extrapolate that for 4 years, that's 220-0, which is just ridiculous to think about. And I think the only person I've actually seen with a record like that is Vito Arujau who's at Cornell now, but he was a high schooler in New York. I think he was like 229-1, but they can wrestle 7th and 8th grade can wrestle high school up there. So it's just ridiculous, that kind of record. Even, you think I'd catch someone's attention, and hopefully it does. And but anyway, guys, really fun video for me to do. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you like the video, and like my page and like my channel. And look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thanks, everybody.